You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey there, YNR fans. It is Belinda from Soap Dirt, and I want to talk about who is Nick Newman's soulmate. Who is he really destined to be with, or is it somebody that he was destined to be with that he's lost and he can't ever get back? So right now, Nick Newman is canoodling with the stunning redhead, but is Sally Spectra his soulmate on YR? Or is Adam right and it's Sharon Newman? Or is it another of Nick's many, many, many lovers who was his twin flame that he has loved but is no longer on scene? Today, we're going to dig into who's Nick's soulmate and why each of the women on the list captured his heart and other parts. To his credit, while Nick has been in the sheets with an array of ladies, he's only married 3 of them, and 2 of them more than once. Let's dig into his love life and where Nick's heart truly lies. But if you have not already, please reach down and click subscribe so you don't miss any of our YNR updates. All right, let's start with Nick's current bedmate, Sally Spectra. Is she his soulmate? I'll get this out of the way right now. No way in any circle of hell is Sally's soulmate Nick, or vice versa. That's my opinion, and I stand by it. Nick has got a bad habit of chasing skirt that was previously chased by his baby brother, Adam Newman. It's not nice, but it's clear he doesn't plan to stop. And while Nick told Sally he loved her, I think what he meant was, I love sleeping with you and I love making sure Adam can't have you. That's what I heard anyway when he said it. What Nick heard, though, was crickets, because Sally never said it back. And I will be surprised if she does. Sally is clearly not over Adam, but Nick feels like more of the stable, normal, safe choice to make. Except he's not really. He's not really. He's left a string of broken hearts behind him, but he still plays the nice guy card. Maybe it's the dimples. I mean, Josh Morrow's hotness certainly overrides many of Nick's glaring character flaws. I've mentioned this before. For my money, Josh Morrow, hottest guy on YNR, and the dimples. Oh my gosh, the dimples and the little beard he's got going. But Nick's being a douche lately, and I'm not liking how he's written. But overall, I love me some Nick Newman. All right, the second woman I want to talk about is Chelsea Lawson. She's another of Adam's exes that Nick decided to get sexy with after his brother allegedly died in that cabin explosion. But he survived and came back eventually. But for a while there, Nick and Chelsea were together and they were happy. They started out as friends, with him co-parenting Connor, co-parenting Connor, which was per Adam's wishes. But then they crossed lines and got involved. Chelsea initially told Nick she only wanted to be friends, but then eventually she caved and they heated up. Then they wound up engaged. But she left him when she could no longer stand to keep the secret about Christian Newman's paternity. Chelsea left Nick a note and her engagement ring and said she and Adam and Sage Warner were the only ones that knew the truth, and that Adam had swapped the DNA test to let Nick and Sage have a happy ever after. While Chelsea at one time swore that she loved Nick more than she did Adam, Adam was always between them. Adam was always an issue, even when he was dead. So in the end, Chelsea and Nick couldn't make it work. And once Adam was back alive, he told her, go be with him, since that's where you really want to be, I can tell. So were they soulmates? I don't think so. I think they were 2 lonely people who found a spark after Adam and Sage's deaths, and they made it last as long as they could. That's my feeling about Chelsea and Nick. Although a lot of people are hardcore chick fans, I know that. All right, the third woman I want to talk about is Sage Warner. This one is harder to decide about because Sage, as you remember, died a tragically early death. They first sparked when they were trapped in the rubble of a cave-in at Nick's bar, The Underground. They kissed when things looked dire, and then after that, it was a sexy but bumpy road. Things rocked along until Sage found out she was pregnant with their child, but there was a wrinkle because Sage had slept once with her pal, Gabriel Bingham, who she knew was really Adam back from the dead. That was during the Justin Hartley recast, all right? So her paternity, I think it was Justin Hartley. Yeah, that's what I think. All right. So many Adams, so little time. However, Sage's paternity test results showed the child was hers and Nick's, thanks to Adam's tampering that Sage later figured out. So Sage and Nick got married in Chancellor Park with Kyle officiating. But Nick got mad at her when he found out that she knew Adam was alive and pretending to be Gabriel. But that fell by the wayside when she went into premature labor. So their son, Christian, was born in critical condition. And then they were told he died while they were at the Halloween party. I think that was the year that like Newman Tower got set on fire by crazy Ian Ward. Remember Ian? So in fact, though, Christian was stolen and given to Sharon, who had been gaslit into thinking he was her son with Dylan that she named Sully. Just before Sage died, she figured out the truth that Sharon had her and Nick's son, Christian, and that Sharon knew at that point that it was Christian and not Sully. But the whole thing was this revenge plot by an old high school mate of Nick's who cooked this whole scheme up to devastate him. Sharon tried to stop Sage from running off and blabbing to Nick, but Sage sped off and Sharon was driving behind her. And then Sage had this horrible car accident and she died right there at the side of the road. Nick was absolutely devastated. Maybe if Sage had survived, they would have lasted. But was Sage really Nick's soulmate? It would be a shame if she was his one intended true love, since she passed away under horrible conditions. The fourth one we have to talk about is the other mother of a child of his, and that's Phyllis Summers. What about Phyllis? She and Nick married a couple of times, and they share a daughter, Summer Newman. If you don't recall, Nick first got involved with Red when he was married to Sharon, but that didn't stop him from jumping into an affair with her. Then they called off the affair, but by then Phyllis was already pregnant, and he decided to stick with Sharon. And so Phyllis says, okay, I'm going to raise the kid alone. But then he and Sharon had a falling out. He goes running back to pregnant Phyllis. They get married. They had their daughter. But as it happens on soaps, Nick was in a plane crash and developed amnesia, and he forgot all about Phyllis and their kid. All he remembered was his love for Sharon. But Sharon rejected him, and he eventually fell for Phyllis even before his memories returned. And then, of course, his memories finally did return. But then, as he does, Nick cheated with Sharon and got her pregnant. And then he wound up back with Sharon, but then he bounced back to Phyllis, called off their divorce. They renewed their vows, but it didn't work out, and they got divorced anyway. And then he and Phyllis cheated a few more times. And at one point, he also dated and bedded her sister, Avery, I think. Then the most recent event with them was back in 2018 when Sharon dumped Nick at the altar and revealed to everybody at the church that he had once again cheated with Phyllis. They had that whole, we were on a break thing, but as far as Sharon was concerned, it was cheating. So is Phyllis the soulmate that Nick should be with, or is it just mad chemistry and a whole lot of infidelity and an accidental pregnancy tying them together? That's what it seems like to me. I don't feel the soulmate vibe with them. Maybe you do. Maybe you do. Everybody's entitled to their opinion of who's soulmate. But the last person that I want to talk about is Sharon Newman. So Nick has dated many other women aside from the 5 that we're discussing here, but Sharon was his longest running, his high school sweetheart, and he's loved her the longest of all the other ladies that have warmed his bed. They haven't been married in more than a decade. Back in 2018, of course, she walked away from him, or they would have been married again. But Adam Newman is certain that Sharon and Nick are endgame, and he told Sally that. Is Adam right? What do you think? Sharon and Nick had a really rocky road, but a lot of their past problems were caused by his cheating and her mental illness. Now that Sharon's got her bipolar under control and is herself a therapist, she's on a very even keel, and she has been for a long time. She has been pretty much since the aftermath of the whole Christian and Sully debacle. So there is certainly potential there. Sharon was with Dylan McAvoy and then with Ray Rosales, and she dallied with Adam for a moment. But Nick has been a constant throughout her life since she was a teenager, if you also ignore the fact that she married his dad, his brother, and Jack Abbott. Sally might soon be paying more attention to Adam's words about Nick and Sharon being destined to be together. That's because very soon they're going to be working very long hours together and under similar conditions to when Nick and Sharon cheated in the past on current partners. They've both grown and matured since then, but Nick is not always good about controlling where and when he drops his zipper. And if Sharon's romance with Chance ends soon, as spoilers hint, she's going to be single. So you never know what could happen, but what do you guys think? Is Adam right and Sharon is Nick's soulmate? Comment below on who you think Nick's meant to be with. Who's his one great love, his twin flame? Is it Phyllis, Sage, Chelsea, Sally, Sharon, or do you think it's another woman? Share your thoughts, click like if you enjoyed this conversation, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. This has been Belinda from Soap Dirt.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.